took a while, but the House has finally voted to expand security for the Supreme Court justices. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sat on a bill for weeks, even after an assassination attempt against Justice Brett Kavanaugh, a plot that was thwarted after the would-be attacker called 911 on himself. Meanwhile, Democrats in charge of the Department of Justice refused to stop illegal protests at the homes of these constitutional Supreme Court justices. That's a violation of our laws, 18 U.S. Code 1507. Joining me now is former Arkansas governor and former presidential candidate Mike Huckabee. Governor, it is fantastic to see you as always, sir. You know, 27 Democrats voted against this bill. They claim it didn't go far enough to protect clerks of the Supreme Court. Now, I don't buy that. Elected Democrats refuse to condemn the law-breaking of these protests geared at intimidating the justices and their families. Twitter even allowed a radical left-wing group to coordinate on their platform to go after Justice Barrett's faith community and her children. In my opinion, the Democrats don't want the intimidation and the threats to stop. Am I wrong?
Chris, you're right. They don't want it to stop. They want it to continue. They want it to escalate. It's really kind of disturbing that these 27 Democrats didn't think that the Supreme Court justices were worth protecting. But I guarantee you, if there had been an assassination attempt on Sotomayor or one of the other liberal justices, they would be demanding 24-hour around-the-clock fences. It would have never been the same. But what we're dealing with is a justice system that is incredibly one-sided. And I just want to remind people, you pointed out something that a lot of people have been missing. It is against the law. It is against federal law to go to the homes of Supreme Court justices to protest, to try to influence their decisions. So why isn't Merrick Garland and the Justice Department rounding up these people and taking them to jail? Why isn't this considered insurrection? How come the so-called January 6th committee and darling Liz Cheney isn't demanding some type of investigation into who's financing these people? I'm not seeing any indication that Congress could give a whit about how they're getting enough money to fly into D.C. and carry out these protests.
Well, let me give you another example of pro-abortionist violence, their campaign of terror they're imposing on the country. Over the weekend, terrorists firebombed a pregnancy help center in Oregon. This incident got virtually no coverage from the biased press. Now, if this had been an anti-life abortion center, it would have been the top story on every newscast across this country. But because it was a pro-life center that got burned and torched, the biased press completely ignores it. Isn't this indicative of the enemy, Joe Biden's word, not mine, the enemy to our civilized society, these pro-abortionist violent folks?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you can be much more of an enemy to civilization than to firebomb a center that is designed to help women through a troubled pregnancy, that helps them get diapers, formula for their babies, that teaches them mothering classes. That seems pretty civil. And when you firebomb a facility that is doing those kind of good deeds to help mothers take care of their children, how is that anything other than uncivil? It's also criminal. Chris, you pointed out something that I also want to just mention. If this had been a Planned Parenthood office, and even so much as got toilet papered, my gosh, we'd be hearing about a hate crime and how people were going to pay dearly for that. But we're getting instances not just of firebombing, but other instances of vandalism on dozens of crisis pregnancy centers, and the press could care less about that.
And it shows their bias. It shows their bias. And again, they refuse to condemn, which in the past, Governor, has been unacceptable behavior in this country by elected officials and by their agents in the streets. I want to pivot, if I can, to the Southern Baptist Convention. They hold their final meeting today after approving a series of sexual abuse reforms, including a new way to track accused ministers. They've also elected Texas pastor Bart Barber to lead the SBC. Now, as a leader in the evangelical movement that you are you as shocked as I was that the Southern Baptists didn't learn very much from the mistakes made by the Catholic Church in this? And do you think they're on the right track now?
Well, I certainly hope so. I don't know Bart Barker. I hear he's a great guy, and I hope he'll bring good leadership to the Southern Baptist Convention. It's the nation's largest denomination. I just hope they stick to biblical principles and accountability for everyone, regardless of who someone is. I do think the one hope that I have that may come out of this is that an understanding, one of the, I guess, challenges, if you will, of Southern Baptists is that they do not control the individual churches. So part of the problem has been that the convention is really a confederation of churches, but they have local autonomy. So the denomination cannot tell the local church what to do or how to do it. They have to voluntarily agree to it. And that's been part of the problem in getting the reporting done and even getting churches to take the kind of responsibility that, quite frankly, I think we all admit they need to take when they have people who are pedophiles among them, whether they're pastors or other church staff members. That's intolerable kind of behavior, and it has to be held to the highest level of accountability.
No doubt. We're going to keep an eye on that story here on the Salcedo Show and Newsmax. Former Governor Mike Huckabee, sir, always a pleasure to talk with you. Come back soon.